Tanner Houck is going into the 2023 season with what he's calling a chip on his shoulder after 2022 just didn't go his way and was shortened due to injury. Plus, could the Red Sox reunite with Noah Song?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. Of course, the Boston Red Sox are your team every day. I am your host, NESN's Lauren Willand, and a lot of pitching talk today. The theme of this episode is pitchers. We're going to talk Tanner Houck and his motivation going into this new season, Nick Pivetta, Noah Song, which was a late development Wednesday, but Nick Pivetta, unfortunately, has to bow out of the World Baseball Classic because of when he had COVID-19. He still just isn't quite ready yet. He was supposed to be part of Team Canada, but because of COVID, he had to leave spring training early last week. Remember, we talked that he threw one pitch and then had to walk off with a trainer, but thankfully it's not injury related. It is just that stamina, and hopefully it's not long COVID or anything like that. It's just a matter of getting back into a routine and kind of getting your appetite and your health back on track. But he will not pitch for Team Canada. It's something he definitely was looking forward to. I feel bad because the World Baseball Classic is a great thing for a ton of players, and it's a great opportunity for Major League Baseball players to represent their home countries. So very unfortunate, but if you want to look at the silver lining, I guess it's that he now gets the full spring training with the Red Sox and can really work on just getting better and being a crucial part to this 2023 team. And he can help get used to the pitch clock. He's someone who's not very fond of it. I also don't think he's somebody who really needs to worry too much about it. He's not a slower pitcher. He's not like Kenley Jansen, who's going to need all the help he can get when it comes to this pitch clock. But while it's unfortunate news for Nick Pivetta, like I said, the silver lining there definitely is that now that he gets to stay with the Red Sox for the entire spring training and he can get used to those new rules, continue to work on his health, and be crucial to this team. Someone else who wants to be crucial to this team is Tanner Houck, and it's unclear exactly what his role will be going into 2023. Alex Cora said that they're going to use him in spring training as a starter. That's what he's going to be built up as, and Alex Cora said, we'll see where we want him, but we have to maximize him. And I agree with that. It's been 3 seasons of Tanner Houck, and it's time to really start, maximizing that value, see what he can bring to this team and what his role will be for this Red Sox team, because he hasn't really had a defined role for the Red Sox since breaking into the majors. Now, Tanner Houck is coming off back surgery that he underwent in September. He had that disc issue in his back. It did end his 2022 season prematurely, but he is a full go for spring training. There's no restrictions. So that is a good sign for Tanner Houck. And over the last 3 seasons, there's a big enough sample size there that I think we know that he is a solid pitcher and can certainly be part of this rotation. Or I personally would prefer him out of the bullpen. But if I had to choose between Garrett Whitlock and him and between the bullpen, it'd be Garrett Whitlock. But we don't need to go down that road today. But Houck has made 20 starts and 33 relief appearances throughout the 3 seasons. And last year, we really saw him thrive in the closing role. And that was something that I think he really needed, the Red Sox really needed, because you had all that going on with Matt Barnes and not really knowing what was going on with him and why he couldn't just seem to get it together. And that was really encouraging because all of a sudden the Red Sox looked like they had a closer or a guy who could pitch in the longer relief innings. I think that's where he would certainly thrive, as being that longer relief guy, that middle innings guy. And the Red Sox don't really have somebody to fill that role. Maybe it can be Tanner Houck. See where I'm going with this? But even though Houck did say he would love to start, he knows it's not his decision at the end of the day. He's got to earn it. He has to prove that he can be a starter. There's a lot of guys going for that starting rotation. And he did tell reporters on Wednesday that he would love to start. That's what I've done my whole career. I love starting. But at the end of the day, I got to help the team win whatever way possible. And we've seen success both in a starting role and the reliever role when it comes to Houck. Of course, it didn't come without struggles. No one is perfect. Every pitcher is going to struggle. But in 20 starts, he has a 3.22 ERA, and in 33 relief outings, he has a 2.68 ERA. So that number is good. Both of those numbers are good. I think any Red Sox fan would take those, especially after last year. And there has been control issues. There's been some command issues with Houck, and there's the whole developing a third pitch that's kind of been hindering him, and I think his ability to be a successful starter. But like many other Red Sox players, this is a big spring training for him. So he said on Wednesday, he said, I come into every camp trying to earn a role, whatever that is. I have a chip on my shoulder. I believe I know I can do it, and I know I can do it well. So go out there, put my best foot forward every day, and let them kind of make the decision from there. So coming into spring training, I mean, Houck has a lot to prove. He's been with this team now for 3 seasons, and he's been struggling. We've talked about getting through that rotation, the opposing rotation 3 times. He can't seem to do it. That third pitch, he really needs to start to develop. And he has said that he's worked on his third pitch. We'll get to that in a minute. But he also said that he's cleaned up his delivery. And now with the new pitch clock rules, I wonder if that means he's kind of stopped using his left foot to kind of push off of it before delivery. Because with these new rules, I think it would be considered a balk. There's been some talk about how there's going to be a lot more balks in the 2023 season. So I wonder if that has anything to do with it. But Houck said that now that he's cleaned it up, hopefully all guns blazing, ready to go. Of course, that's what we want to hear. That's what we want to see. We know the talent is there. It's just a matter of where does he belong in this team? Is he that long inning relief guy? Is he a starter? Does that third pitch really come into play, in which he now feels a lot more comfortable throwing? So the splitter is that third pitch. He uses it mostly against left-handed hitters, but he did tell reporters that he feels it's made leaps and bounds this year, and he feels a lot more comfortable throwing it. And he didn't throw it as much last year because he had the bullpen role, so he didn't really feel that he needed it as much as he would as a starter. So the more comfortable he is with using all 3 pitches, the better, especially if he's going to be a starter. And he said he knows that he has to mix in that third pitch if he wants to be a starter. So hopefully, like he said, all guns blazing, ready to go. He also told Mass Live's Chris Cotillo that the Red Sox and him did engage in contract talks last year. And even though it didn't really go anywhere, they didn't really make any movement on it, he's still open for a deal. And I'm okay with them not giving him an extension right away. I don't want this to turn into something like a Matt Barnes or, God forbid, a Chris Sale kind of thing where they spend more time away from the team than actually with them due to injuries. But I think that if he pitches well this year, he will play himself into a contract extension. I think the same thing with a lot of guys, potentially Brian Bayo, maybe Tristan Casas, but that is an episode for another day. We are going to talk prospects in the second segment of the Locked On Red Sox podcast. Bryan Mata, Noah Song, and everything that is going on with him. Maybe we can make some bets on where Noah Song will end up playing or which team he'll end up on for the 2023 season. But if you feel like making bets about the Red Sox, the Celtics, or anyone else, head on over to FanDuel, because if you can believe it, we are halfway through the NBA season. We're past the midway point at this point, and now is the perfect time to download the FanDuel app. It's America's #1 sportsbook, and if you are a new customer, you get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. All you have to do is just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, it's secure, and it's super easy to use. And you can bet on everything from the money line to point scorers, threes drained. I am a money line kind of person. It's something that I'm just very confident in betting. It doesn't always mean my bets hit, but I am a newer bettor to this. I live in Massachusetts. It was just legalized very recently. So money line is my go-to. And threes drained, goal scorers. David Pastrnak of the Boston Bruins, probably a safe bet for scoring, being a goal scorer of any game. He's easily going to hit 50 goals this year. Maybe you can bet on that. Maybe you can bet him reaching 60. That has not been done in a while. Neither has 50, but you can bet on hockey, basketball, football, everything over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So do not miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked on. That's FanDuel.com/locked on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. And once we're done here on Locked On Red Sox, head on over to Locked On MLB Prospects to make it your second listen of the day. Host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow, like Bryan Mata and Noah Song. And speaking of those two. Bryan Mata joins the long list of Red Sox who have a lot to prove this spring training, and it appears we will see him in a Red Sox uniform in 2023. Alex Cora said on Wednesday that the ability is there, and at one point, Mata is going to be part of this, and he's going to help us win a few games. Now, Mata has been a top prospect for a few years now with the Red Sox. COVID-19 obviously hindered the development when it wiped out the 2020 season, the minor league 2020 season. And then he underwent Tommy John surgery in April 2021. So that season was wiped out for him. But we did see glimpses of him in 2022 with the Portland Sea Dogs and the Worcester Red Sox. In Portland, he had a 1.85 ERA across 10 outings. 9 of them were starts. And then in Worcester, he had 30 strikeouts in 5 starts with a 3.47 ERA, so a little bit higher ERA. But that strikeout number is very nice. So you got to see a little bit of Bryan Mata. And Alex Cora said that the Red Sox are very pleased with his development. And even though the injuries slowed him down, he is in a really good spot right now. So while all of that is good news, now it comes to the question is he a starter or is he a reliever? So we'll see how this spring training goes, where he ends up starting. I think he starts in Worcester, and then he'll slowly make his way to MLB. I don't want them to rush him. I don't want him to get here before he's 100% ready or as close to 100% as possible. Don't want things to happen like last year where people were just thrown in to no fault of their own, but just because the Red Sox didn't have that depth, and it was just injury after injury, COVID after COVID, anything after anything that happened to the Red Sox that made them dip into their depth last year a lot sooner than they probably should have. But I'm really excited to see what Mata can do. Maybe he'll be a September call-up. Maybe he'll just dazzle so much in Worcester that they can't wait to get him in Boston. But I'm very, very excited. Like I said, he's been in the system for a few years now. He's been that top prospect. And it's kind of been on my radar, as I think it has been for a lot of Red Sox fans. But unfortunately, when the whole season gets wiped out, we have to be a little bit more patient. But one story that broke Wednesday, which was kind of weird all around, was that Noah Song, who the Red Sox drafted in 2019 in the 4th round, and then the Phillies plucked him from the Rule 5 draft. It was reported that he was discharged from the Navy. He had been in flight school and that he would return to his baseball career. He has not pitched since 2019. I believe that was in low A. And because of his commitment to the Navy, he'll now report to Philly spring training camp. Scott Lauber of the Philadelphia Inquirer was the first one to report this news. And the whole situation surrounding Song is kind of weird because there is a scenario here where he could return to the Red Sox. He completed his flight training in May, and apparently he applied for a waiver to continue his career, but that was not granted by the time the Red Sox chose not to protect him in the Rule 5 draft in mid-December. Now, at the end of the day, the Red Sox still chose not to protect him. So I don't know if they didn't think that he would pitch because the whole flight school thing, and he did want to continue his career with the Navy. I don't know. But regardless, that waiver was not granted by the time the Red Sox did not protect him. So Matt Gelb, who covers the Phillies, he said that the Phillies clarified that Song was not discharged. He was transferred from active duty to selective reserves, and he's still serving while being permitted to play professional baseball. So what does that mean now? So for the Phillies, in order to keep Song on their roster, to keep Song with their team, he has to remain on the active 26-man roster or on the injured list if he gets hurt for the entire season. So he has to be on that roster. He cannot go to the minors. They cannot DFA him and hopefully he clears waivers. No, he has to remain on that 26-man roster, and he has to be placed on it, I believe, by opening day. I can't remember if there's a grace period. There was so much, not conflicting information, but I think it was just something that we have not seen before. So if the Phillies do not put him on the roster, whether they don't have a spot for him and they're just like, we don't want to put you on the 26-man roster, you haven't pitched since 2019, the Phillies can trade him. They are allowed to trade him, but he has to stay on a major league roster in order for him to stay with that team. So a team can't just acquire him and send him to the majors or send him to the minors. And if he does not remain in the major leagues for the entire 2023 season, he will then be offered back to the Red Sox because of the Rule 5 draft rules. And if he is offered back to the Red Sox, they do not have to put him on their active roster. So not the 26-man roster, not the 40-man roster. They can get him back if all that happens and send him right to Worcester, send him to the minor leagues. They don't have to clear a spot for him on that roster, whereas any other major league team does. And what kind of stinks for Philly is if he was still with the Navy full time in 2023 and came back in 2024, he would only have to spend 90 days on an active roster to satisfy the Rule 5 requirements. So Philly's kind of in a logjam right here because it's been a while since he's pitched. You have no idea what you're going to get from this guy. Obviously, he's in shape, but he has not pitched. And he hasn't really pitched at a higher level. He's done low A, but he has not pitched in minor leagues like the AAA affiliates. Are they going to really claim or clear a spot for him to keep him on the roster just so they don't lose him and hope that he turns out to be what the Red Sox saw on him as a 4th-round draft pick? I don't know. But it's really interesting that he could end up back with the Red Sox. It's definitely something that we should keep our eyes on to see how this all kind of pans out. I did not think, I mean, this wasn't even on my radar. I just know when the Red Sox chose not to protect him and he was drafted, I was like, who knows what this guy's career will be regardless, because he is committed to the Navy. So this kind of took a turn, a curveball, if you will. And now it's just very, very interesting and a very worthwhile storyline to watch this spring training and to see what happens. Does he come back to the Red Sox? And if he does, do they develop him? Do they try to trade him? Like what happens? But we don't have to think about that right now. We still have spring training and we still have until opening day to see what the Phillies ultimately decide to do. But we'll end this show how we always do in our 3rd segment of the Locked On Red Sox podcast. We will end this on the mental health minute. So last week, Jake and I were talking about putting non-negotiables in your day. And I've talked about that as well and how that's kind of helped me form a healthy work-life balance and just a healthy overall lifestyle. And while I work in the office, there's a Target like right next to my office. And I try to at least walk there every day that I'm in the office. I'm in the office 3 days a week. So I try to walk to Target just to get me outside, get some fresh air and get some steps in. And today I just did not want to do it. It's cold here in Boston. There's a storm coming. It's going to bring a messy, wintry mix. Just a very gray day. And I just did not want anything to do with going outside. Plus, the NHL trade deadline is just over a week away. And that's what I really focus on at work is hockey and the Bruins. So I'm like, I know the second I step out that door, David Pastrnak's going to sign an extension with the Bruins, or Jacob Chychrun is going to get traded. The Bruins are going to pull off a trade, or there's going to be some sort of blockbuster trade while I'm just in the middle of Target browsing. But I was like, you know what? If that were to happen, you have legs, walk back. It's totally fine. So I was browsing through Target. I had to return something anyway. So I walked to the front of the store, I return it, and I was like, I'm just going to browse. I usually go through the books and see what they have there. Their book selection is usually very good, but the last few times I've been there, unfortunately, it's not as good, but I bought all the books that I want to read for the next month. So that's a good sign. But as I was browsing, I came across this pair of sandals that I've seen a few times there, but I was like, no, like I don't need another pair of sandals. But today I was like, I have a vacation in April where I don't really have anything other than flip-flops. And these aren't flip-flops, they're just like slip-on sandals. So I was like, all right, I'm going to treat myself to them. They were on sale for like $5. So I was very, very excited about that. But as I was walking to the checkout register, I found this bathrobe that I've had my eye on for a while because it has a hood. And I love anything with hoods. If you're watching on YouTube, my jacket that I'm wearing has a hood. I wear a hoodie pretty much every day. I love things with hoods. So I saw this, I've seen this robe, and for a few times they haven't had my size. And every time they have, I'm like, I'll get it next time. I'll get it next time. But they ended up having my size today. And that was on sale too. And it was something small that just kind of made my day so much better. And I was like, there's a reason you have these non-negotiables in your day. And today your non-negotiable was you are going to walk to Target on your lunch break and take those 30 minutes to yourself and just decompress and walk through Target. And sometimes it is hard just to walk through Target and not get anything or stick to just getting the things you need. But today I was like, see, this is why we have non-negotiables, because my day got better just for something as small as a pair of sandals and a bathrobe, got some extra steps in. And even though it was cold, it was still a nice walk over to Target. So do not compromise those non-negotiables throughout your day, because sometimes something as small as some new clothes can make you feel so much better. Thank you for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Locked On Red Sox right here on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, the Odyssey app, Wherever you get your podcast is where you can find us. You can find us on Twitter at LO_Red Sox, Jake at Jake Iggy, and me, Lauren, 3 Laws, Lauren with 4 R's. And be sure to check out all the other shows across the Locked On Network. Locked On Fantasy Baseball, new to the Locked On Network. We're so happy to have them. Locked On Yankees, Locked On Phillies. They got all this Noah Song situation now, so they have a lot on their plate. And now that you've made Locked On Red Sox your first listen, head on over to Locked On MLB Prospects to make it listen number 2. Host Lindsey Crosby, we've had him on the show before, so we can vouch for this. He's a prospect encyclopedia and going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Jake and I will be back tomorrow. We'll discuss the latest storylines from spring training. Alex Verdugo allegedly approaching front office about a contract extension and being like, I'm joking, it's all in fun. If they want to do it, they're going to do it. We will talk everything in between. And of course, keep our eye on this Noah Song situation, even though we're not going to know much until opening day. But until then, have a great day. And as always, let's go Red Sox.